women are complaining after allegedly discovering unhygienic sanitary towels from the Always brand. Some women have allegedly seen moldy or fungal-looking substances inside freshly purchased pads. Women from different countries are taking freshly purchased pads and putting them near a source of light. They're noticing moldy-looking substances inside the freshly purchased pads. And by the way, this dirt cannot be seen with the naked eye, and it can only be seen clearly under a source of light. I've seen videos of different women from different countries such as Kenya, Uganda, UK, and even Belize doing the same experiment and finding the same results. Some women have also allegedly experienced burning sensations, itchiness, rashes, irritation, and even painful lumps and boils after using the Always Sanitary product. This is not the first time that Kenyan women have complained about Always Sanitary towels. Back in 2019, Kenyan women on X, formerly Twitter, complained about the Always product and accused the manufacturer, Procter & Gamble, of supplying the African market with substandard products. They also complained about experiencing itchiness, rashes, boils, and burns after using the sanitary product. For example, a woman by the name of Pesh Ahomuza posted this back in 2019, and this is what she said, and I quote, "They leave your skin sore and prone to infections. I believe it's not just a Kenyan problem, it's in Uganda too. They are fairly priced, but at the end of the day, you have to buy oil and powder for those who can afford it. Hashtag my always experience." Eventually, Always Kenya responded to the complaints by saying that all their products are of high quality. They also posted this, and I quote, "The Always Ultra pads we have in Kenya are similar to the Always pads in other parts of the world, including Germany, UK, US, and South Africa. All our pads, including the ones in Kenya, are designed and developed in Europe and the US." And by the way, this woman found a moth larva inside a freshly purchased Always Sanitary product. Of course, she contacted customer care and it was resolved, but a lot of women started saying that they were going to switch brands after using Always for decades. It seems like different women from different parts of the world are experiencing the same issues with the Always brand, and not just Kenyan women only. Women are still waiting for Always Kenya to explain what this moldy-looking substance is, which can be seen in their newly purchased Always pads, and whether their products are actually safe for women to use. This woman said, "I last used Always in 2020. It burned me so much, my skin dried and peeled. I thought generally pads were a problem for me then, but later I tried Cortex and I don't react. It all makes sense now." I'm starting with South African women's reviews about the Always brand, and Thawab said, "I stopped using Always years ago when they just one day all of a sudden gave me a rash. Cortex has been my go-to since." Kele said, "The rash that comes with Always pads these days." Melochoke said, "I stopped using Always pads in high school. They would always give me so much irritation." And apparently, the Always brand is not negatively affecting every single woman. And Motso said, "Guys, am I the only one who doesn't have a problem with Always pads?" Now I'm sampling Always Sanitary pad reviews from Kenyan women. Let's begin. Sandra said, "Boycott Always, my babies." Charlene Muhonja said, "No wonder infection unapata every time unamaliza kunyesha." Kabi said, "Soft care give me serious burns too, bro. In whose hands are we safe?" Always pads reviews from women in Botswana. Let's begin. Food Lover said, "I stopped using Always pads in 2018 because they irritated me. It looked like a burn." Oitumetsi said, "Last year I had a terrible experience with Always pads. I was stranded and had to use them because I was out of my usual brand, and unfortunately they caused an infection. To make matters worse, when I visited the clinic, the nurse jumped to conclusions and accused me of having unprotected intimacy without letting me explain that the pads were the issue. Now seeing the controversy around Always pads brings back those frustrating memories. It's infuriating that I was blamed for something that wasn't my fault." This woman said, "I stopped using Always because I always found it weird that I always have a rash and an itch after using them, but never that problem with other brands." Now let's look at Always pad reviews from American women. Let's begin. Adi said, I stopped wearing Always pads when I was 18 and I'm 32 now. I would get these really nasty rashes or hives around my area and I just figured I was allergic or something. So I switched to anything that was made organic for the most part. I haven't had any issues since. I do use Cora, Honeypot and sometimes August, and these are American brands. Mari said, yes, I was just talking about this because I started getting diaper rashes in quotes and thought I was allergic. And my doctor told me about the Always pads and told me to switch to Cora. Shaking my head. Christina said, I stopped using Always pads when I was 18. They literally burned me. And apparently, Always pads are not negatively affecting every single woman in America based on her review. So Vanna said, am I the only one that hasn't had issues with Always pads? Anahi said, yes, Always pads give me really bad irritation. I use U by Cortex and they're the best. But everybody is different, so some might get a reaction, some might not. So Jessica said, while using Always pads, I would feel gross and itchy days after using them. So Moonlight said, and I quote, it's true. I've always used the Always pads since I was a teenager and it never gave me a reaction. But now that I'm 20, those Always pads give me a reaction. I'll be getting like cysts, pimples, or my inner thighs become super itchy. Literally only when I use those pads. And this lady said, maybe there's something wrong with you all. I use Always pads and there's no mold, no maggots, and nothing. So I don't know, man. And last but not least, Delaney said, I only use Always pads and I never have any problems. So a lot of women all over the world have been doing this experiment whereby they take newly bought pads and they put them under a source of light and they allegedly see moldy or fungal looking substances inside the newly bought pads. And this has made a lot of women to question the quality of Always sanitary pads. Some women believe that the dark particles that can be seen after a newly bought sanitary pads are placed under a source of light are actually super absorbent gel particles, while others believe they are mold or fungus that may have developed due to the raw materials being stored in poor condition, and Always is yet to respond.